let's bring on board. We do have Saugata Gupta, who's the managing director and CEO of the company, to get more insights on what happened in the earnings and what is the growth outlook going forward as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Gupta, for joining with us on the show today. It's a pleasure having you on the show. So I'm firstly going to start by talking about the demand scenario. How was the current demand scenario, consumer sentiment? How is it different from last year as well? Especially we did have the third wave coming in the second half of the quarter as well. So what is the current demand trends now that you're seeing coming in?
So I think if you have to look at from three different lenses. First of all, I think it's true for the industry and especially for us. We are also lapping a very high base. So if you look at Q3 and Q4 of 2021, we had a volume growth of 15 and 24% respectively. So therefore, some of the so-called slowdown is also optical. Having said that, yes, there is a slowdown in trend, especially in rural. If you look at Q3 overall, Nielsen numbers as far as the FMCG category is concerned, some of it could be attributed to, I think, what I call inflation. Whenever there is inflation, there is obviously titration of FMCG. Some of it also could be attributed to now that everything has opened up. Obviously, there are other avenues of spending. So having said that, I believe that things are going to be better as we move into the next year, Q1 and Q2. As far as Omicron, the third wave is concerned, while it led to some productivity-led issues, given the fact it was short and it had a quick peak and a quick decline, I don't think there has been any, other than some short-term disruptions, there hardly been any significant disruptions. So I think it's been now business as usual. And I believe that the only factor that is going to play a part is how soon inflation comes down. Having said that, I think we are lucky because a significant portion of inflation component, which is copra, is already on decline. And therefore, going forward, we will continue to see sequential margin improvement and EBITDA improvement getting into Q1 next year.
Right, Mr. Gupta, good afternoon. This is Cheryl also joining in the conversation. Let's talk about margins then. You actually mentioned about the crude prices actually softening. So what is the margin expectations that you have for your company, as well as will you need to take more price hikes going forward?
So in our case, it's slightly different. I think, crude, the softening or the vegetable oil softening, we might see only in Q1 because now we are always almost halfway through Q4. As far as Parachute is concerned, we have already taken some price drops. As regards other categories, I think we have taken some marginal hikes. We will wait and watch. It is extremely important that we continue to ensure that we maximize volume and market share over short-term margins, because margins will always come back. The two things we are continuing to invest behind, we'll continue to invest behind A&P and capability driving, and also ensure that we protect market share. As you know, last quarter, 94% of our portfolio gained market share, 95% of our portfolio gained penetration. So we'll continue to do that. So we are not very concerned about margins, given the fact that a primary component of our input cost, copra, is on the decline now.
Right, Mr. Gupta. One thing, most FMCG companies have actually highlighted is that they're seeing a bit of a slowdown coming in the rural growth. Now, what is your outlook on the rural growth? Is that something you have witnessed as well?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I think there has been some slowdown in rural growth, especially in Q3. And it's a function of both optical and sequential. Having said that, if you look at some of the other factors, which is whether it's been the rainfall has been good, the crop has been good, the government continues to do direct benefit transfer in terms of Manrega and the MSP. So I believe that we should see improvements coming Q1 onwards. That is because, again, we are also lapping very, very high base. So I believe it's an immediate concern, but I believe that once the inflation cools off a bit, which should happen in Q1, although it's very difficult to predict because some of the crude inflation is also because of certain external geopolitical factors which we can't be influenced in India. I believe that once that happens, I think rural growth should start improving in Q1 of next year.
Mr. Gupta, let's shift focus now to the hair oil space, and you are actually dominating the coconut oil category with about 62% market share. But we are actually seeing quite a few new entrants enter that particular space. So with this increased competition in the hair oil space, could we be in for a slippery spot when it comes to your company market share gain in this particular segment?
So we continue to gain market share. We gained 220 basis points in Parachute. We continue to gain in all, as I said, 94% of our portfolio. I believe that as long as one of the things we have done is, as we had significant input cost increase, we absorbed some of the costs. We didn't pass on everything to the consumer because we continue to provide value to the consumer during inflationary times. So I think, and we also have a very big distribution agenda in front of us. In terms of expanding direct distribution in rural and also improving some of the urban distribution in some of the which will help the newer categories. So as long as both is done, I believe that I think we will continue to gain market share in spite of independent of any competitive intensity.
Really great to hear, Mr. Gupta. But I want to talk about another segment. That's the Saffola segment of yours. Now, you've had a growth of around 19% in terms of value during this quarter. What is your growth strategy going forward over here, especially on the food business side in the Saffola segment? And will you be looking at any acquisitions on the food business side?
I think we have had a good start in foods, and we are very much on track of going close to the 500 crore aspiration we have set for ourselves this year. We also have an aspiration for 850 to 1,000 crores. It's a broad-based growth. I think we have got most of the food strategy right in terms of having better execution of the innovation. Yes, you can expect some more, entry into the food, some new categories sometime later this quarter or Q1 of next year. I believe that it is a great example of how do you expand the total addressable market through a power brand like Saffola. And the food journey, we will continue to invest behind the food journey. And this will become one of the biggest plank of our diversification of our portfolio, which we are planning in India over the next 3 to 4 years.
All right, Mr. Gupta, we leave it at there. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, talking about Marico's quarter gone by as well as way ahead for your company, especially in the food segment as well.